Good morning, folks. Thanks for joining us on our Votacall One webinar series. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Today, we're going to take a look at using Votacall One for coaching and training. So we got a good one in store for you today. We're going to give folks just a couple more minutes to join. So we'll go over some housekeeping items, do some introductions, and we'll get underway. In the bottom right corner of your screen, you have a questions tab. So if you have any questions as we go along, feel free to fire away any questions or perhaps maybe throw a phone joke in there if you get any jokes. And we'll do our best to answer your questions. Only Dan and I can see your questions. Right next to the questions tab is a polls tab. We encourage everybody to hop over to the poll and let us know what you want to learn more about. And we'll be back next month with another webinar. And if you don't see a links tab down there, click the apps button, and then you will see a links tab. And here we have links to our myvotacall.com portal, a link to our video training library, a link to contact support directly. As we go along, if you see anything that you want to have more in-depth conversation about or just comments in general, feel free to send those right over to support@votacall.com. Click that link, then I'll get you right over to support. A link to our past webinars, a link to our customer love page. We're always looking to expand on that. So if you had a great experience, we want to hear all about it. And if you're up for it, we'd love to add you to that page. We have a link to our Votacall values, which will bring you to our About Us page. And we covered some Votacall values on last month's webinar, where we interviewed our support director, Eric Davis. Then we have a link to our LinkedIn page. Click that link and smash that follow button. Oh, there it is. Right. Excellent. Let's see. So I'm Kyle. I'm a project manager of Votacall. I onboard brand new customers, and I see people I've worked with in the past here and new customers as well. So thank you for joining. And with us, as always, is Dan the Phone Man.
Hi, everybody. Dan the Phone Man here. I'm one of the directors at Votacall. I've been with the company, I don't know, about 23 or 24 years now since we started, and looking forward to talking through coaching and training with you guys today. I hope you all had a fantastic holiday weekend. I know we tackled a bunch of extra tickets for people having the day off yesterday, so that's always nice. Don't forget when we talk about support that it always is Votacall is a fully managed solution, so you have access to support at any time for any reason. Whether it's for setting up coaching and training or whether it's adjusting schedules for when you're taking some time off. Hopefully with July 4th falling on a Tuesday this year or is it a Thursday? Thursday, you're going to get Thursday and Friday off. That's what we hope. Anyway, with that being said, thank you for coming. We always appreciate it when you guys take the time out of your day to come and do these, and hopefully you find it beneficial and you learn a little something as we go through it. So, Kyle.
All right. So what are we learning today? We're going to go do an overview of coaching and training tools. We'll do a feature review of those particular tools. We'll share some tips and tricks along the way. And of course, we have resources and training materials available in the links tab. So Dan, when we talk about coaching and training, who are we talking about coaching and training?
Well, that's the thing, right? So, I think when you talk about like coaching somebody or training somebody or monitoring calls, I think is what it comes down to in a lot of ways. Like who uses that and what do they use it for? Well, it's not just for the call center functionality. It's not just for, call queues and those kind of things. New team members, that's a pretty big one, right? Somebody, as you're onboarding people, you spend a lot of money to onboard somebody, you're bringing them into a role. Now that new team member, maybe as you go down the list here, maybe a member of a sales team, or maybe a member of a support team, customer service team, call center agent, but it doesn't really matter what they are. I think this is where, this really applies to everybody. As you bring somebody new on and they're going to be talking to your customers, to your clients, you're never really going to get a good feel for how they're doing or see their true personality until you kind of let them, not be sitting next to somebody else or you're out of earshot from you, maybe away. Also with a lot of, mobile workforces these days and people working remotely, the system also gives you a lot of capability for listening and monitoring phone calls, maybe reviewing phone calls a little bit later. We'll talk about the differences between the kinds of coaching and training, I believe, in the next slide, if I'm not mistaken. So, but remember, it kind of applies to everybody. You've got new team members, sales teams, support teams, again, customer service and call center agents. So really anybody within your organization. You can as a supervisor get some ideas of, how are they communicating with people? Maybe they need your help, maybe they don't, and we'll talk about the different ways that you can do that again in the next slide here. So, Kyle.
All right. So there's two types of training. You have real time and historical. So an example of real time training would be, monitoring a live active phone call. And there's a few different options when we get to that point, which Dan's going to cover in the next couple of slides. And then there's historical, and perhaps you're looking at call recordings, call data, call history. People can put notes and disposition codes on calls. So we're going to take a look at that. I'll cover the historical in just a few moments, but we're going to jump into the real-time coaching, in which Dan's going to cover right now.
Okay. So what does coaching in real time mean? Okay. So, well, the system has the ability, somebody's on the phone, whether that's someone, again, in your sales or in customer service, and they're on the phone and you just kind of want to jump in and you want to potentially listen to their phone call, which is what the first option is, right? So, and as we show you this, we're going to demo it in a few minutes. So don't worry if you don't know how to do it and you have the right credentials, or, we'll show you how it works in just a few minutes. But listening to a phone call, right? That's the first thing. So, okay, if you call into Votacall, into our support team, you will hear a message that says your call may be monitored or recorded for quality and training purposes. So that's exactly this, right? Coaching and training. And we're not the only company that has that message, but it is definitely there. And so that allows us so Eric was on last month, from support. He could jump into someone's phone calls if he brings somebody new on board and he sees that there's a phone call that's been going on for 15 minutes. Maybe he just wants to jump in and have a listen and see what's going on with that person. Maybe that person sent him an IM and said, hey, can you jump into this phone call and listen? I'm struggling here, and then shoot me some responses back. I mentioned that they're using IM and using texting because we do have the feature that once you're in a phone call and listening to it, you actually can whisper to somebody. We used to joke and call that the voice of God, because out of nowhere you're going to hear somebody start talking to you. The person on the far end can't hear that, but you do have the ability to go ahead and speak. Again, with the addition of IM and instant messenger that's available in most business organizations at this point, whisper is probably not one of those things that you use a lot. Can be a little scary when it happens, but again, you can just IM somebody and fire that over. But we do have the ability to do it. Again, that is one of those telecom features that's been around a long time. You used to have some supervisory capabilities in some of the older PBX style phone systems. I'm dating myself here, but again, as I tell you guys every month, my beard usually does that for me. That is an old telecom feature. And the last one is Barge, where Barge is going to be when you actually join the phone call, right? So you can start and listen, and from listen, you can move to whisper or you can move to Barge. Now, Barge means that both people can hear you. You've actually joined the phone call. So that's going to be that moment. Maybe you started listening. You got an IM from somebody on your team that said, hey, can you jump in and coach me through this call? And they said, and you jumped in, and all of a sudden somebody says, can I talk to a supervisor? And, and your employee's trained to say, yeah, can you hang on for 1 second? All of a sudden you barge in and you say, hi, how are you? How can I help you? We got a phone joke.
I don't know that one.
I don't know that one either.
Apple phones?
I'm going to guess an Apple iPhone. Yeah, that's my guess. But it was, what sort of phones do Adam and Eve have? That was the phone joke that came in. So, Janelle, we love it. Keep them coming.
Exactly. I don't know that one.
But we do need the answer. Were we right?
We'll find out soon. Once the answer comes, we'll let you know.
Yes, Apple is correct. All right. Although, I guess Adam and Eve weren't androids, right? So, so let's keep moving through here. So again, you've got coaching, real-time coaching. So listen, whisper, and barge are going to be the three features there. Now, those can be triggered either in the portal, which is what we're going to show you. Obviously, our big drive at Votacall is to get people using our portal so that they can see all the tools that they have available to them. Almost every webinar that we've done is available in the portal. So Kyle, why don't you walk through this before I keep going here? step all over you.
Absolutely. So the real-time tools are available through the My Votacall portal, which we're going to show you in just a few moments. You can use these star codes to access call monitoring from your desk phone, the Votacall Go web phone, as well as the Votacall Go mobile app. Just keep in mind, call monitoring is something we have to enable for you on our side. So if there's something that you guys want access to and want to be able to do or want to train on as well, please put in an email to support@votacall.com and we can turn on these real-time monitoring features for you. We just don't want everybody to have the access, start listening and whispering to everybody. So this is something that we do turn on as a per user request. So again, put in an email to support@votacall.com and we'll reach out to you and have a conversation. Our historical tools will be call recording access, call notes, and disposition codes. We have a previous webinar specifically on call recording, and we also covered disposition codes and call notes in previous webinars as well, such as the call center for agents and call center supervisors. So disposition codes allow you to set a code and also note a phone call. So if you're using the Votacall Go web phone, at the end of a phone call, you'll get a pop-up that allows you to set your disposition code. We can create custom disposition codes for you too. So depending on the organization, what you want your disposition codes to read, we can put those in there for you. A little bit of a tongue twister. And then, of course, you have the ability to simply note the call. Therefore, a supervisor can go back and look at your disposition codes and look at your notes. We're going to show those here in just a moment. And where are we going to show you those tools? The myvotacall.com portal. Of course, it wouldn't be a webinar unless we're going there, right?
Right. We want to talk about a telecom tongue twister. Try to say one wire run 5 times fast.
One wire run. Yep. Can we even do it once?
Anyway, one wire run. Yeah, it's a good one.
So that sounds like how I talk anyhow.
I have a good story of when I first started in telecom. This is a ridiculous story, but I'll tell it anyway. But when I first started in telecom, I had a guy, and he owned a place called Freddie Farkle's Fabrics.
Oh, boy.
And in order to close the deal, he made me say, Freddie Farkle's fabulous fabrics for the fanatically frugal 5 times fast. And I pulled it off, and he signed the paperwork. Anyway, that's a story for another day. I just told it, so I guess it's for today. But let me jump into the portal here and show you guys what's going on. And again, as Kyle said, there is some setup that's involved in this. We don't want people just listening to everybody's phone calls. So, again, if you want to drop us a note here and say, hey, I'd love to start looking at this, we'll reach out to you after this is done. You can always email support 24/7, 365, stateside-based support and available to all of our clients for free. So it is something nice to be able to throw that in there for you guys. So hang on. I'm going to hit share.
All right, well, Dan is sharing his screen. Hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend. If you have served or currently serving, thank you for your service.
Yes, very much so. I spent the weekend at a baseball field coaching a Memorial Day tournament. So we did the Pledge of Allegiance. Sorry, not the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem numerous times. So, thank you to everybody. Hang on one second, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, window. There we go. All right. So just make sure you guys can see me here. Good. Okay, so what we've got here is I'm logged into the portal. I'm actually in as an office manager. So, when you arrive, you see this screen. But this feature is going to be tucked away under call center, right? So as a call center supervisor, that's going to be where you have the ability to do some of this stuff. Okay. All right. Not sure what's happening there, but all right. And then, sorry, folks, somebody just started a meeting, but they started the meeting that we're in right now. So, as you look at this, you can see here that I can see customer service 1 and customer service 2. I can also see the agents that I monitor or have the ability to monitor right down here. Again, so we're going to use the portal for this. There is a code that we can give you and program on your phone. You're going to dial the code followed by the extension number that you'd like to monitor. And so you can use just your standard phone for this. But again, at the customer service level, or if you're a sales manager, we could have your sales team set up as a queue, and then you could see active calls of people who are on the phone. But I could see right down here. Here's 971. That's the call that's on the phone, and then up in the queue, I can tell which queue it's for, and I can see it up here as well. Now, if I click on this, it's going to show me the active call. All right. And then I can see it's been going on for 17 minutes. And I have the ability right here to listen in. Now, that same ability is afforded to me right here as well, again, to listen in. And so when I listen, what it's going to do is basically open up my phone or trigger my phone. Now, I happen to have the web phone set up right here. Again, and I can see these two queues. But I don't see, who's on the phone, and I can't start it from here unless, of course, I open the dial pad. And by the way, very exciting news for any of you guys who use the web phone. We'll be sending out some emails pretty soon about the latest version of Votacall. And we actually have taken the dial pad and stuck it right over here on the left. So that has been a big request. I'm excited to share some of that news with you. You'll see some information coming out about that really soon. And again, so pretty exciting. So I could dial the code from here and I could trigger that if I wanted to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the portal to do this. So I'll just come here, right? And I'll come up to this one. We'll do it from here. And I'm just going to click listen. Okay. And there we go. You can see audio monitoring has started. Okay, and so it's between extension 971 and Kyle, and now so I'm in listen mode. So over here on my phone, I can see that there's a bridge for audio monitoring that has started. Okay, if I was on a handset, I would just hear the conversation. Now they cannot hear me at this point. I could keep talking just like I'm talking to you right now, and they would have no idea that I'm talking, listening, etc. I could throw it on speaker if I was in my office. If I was working from home, I could do that as well. Now, but down here, what you can see is I've got two options. So we talked about barge or join the call. That would be the first one. And then whisper. Whisper would mean when I click this, I could actually say, why don't you offer them this promotion? Or, hey, move this conversation in this direction. Or, hey, you're doing good, keep it up. Or, again, with the invention of IM, most of the time, you're probably going to use that in today's world, but it is there for you. Now, if I hit join call, that would actually bring me into the phone call. Okay. I just went ahead and joined. And then Wendy asked a question, Kyle, if you just want to, we can jump in. But yes, Wendy, that is correct. This has to be turned on, and then it's assigned per person who has the capability of doing this and who has the capability of not doing it. Okay, so right now I'm barged in, so Kyle can actually hear me talking. The customer can also hear me talking, but I can go back to listen only. Okay, so I could jump in, make a couple comments, and then pull myself out again and say, hey, Kyle, I'm glad I was able to help. Thank you, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer. If you need me again, just please reach out and I'll jump back in. And I could disappear back and go back into listen mode. I could also just hang up. Okay, so this is an example of audio monitoring. Again, this is using the portal. Now, if I'd have triggered that on my phone, I would still see the same thing down here in the portal, but it would just be how I triggered it. Okay. Again, I prefer to use the portal for these kind of things, and it's always nice to be able to use the web phone. So imagine that I'm working from home right now, which I am actually, but and I was a supervisor and I wanted to listen to Kyle's conversations. Like if Kyle was doing his first kickoff call, let's say, as a project manager, potentially that would be a phone call that I might jump in and listen to just to give him some advice when the call's all over again. I would probably venture to say that's probably happened at some point. So, all right. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to jump off. So I'm just going to hang up this call. Okay. All right, and then it pushes me out, and then I'm gone from the bridge. You see that call disappeared. That call is still going, but I'm no longer on it. Now, if I had multiple calls going with multiple agents, I would see those all lined up here. And again, so this is going to be a call that's in the call center. But if Kyle was on a personal call, I could still see him down here. So I could still monitor, and that's another feature that's available. So, and then I've also got, so again, I can coach him through that whole process by using this feature here. All right. So that being said, that's kind of covers live time, right? So real time coaching. And Wendy, no, there is no way for Kyle to know that he is being monitored. It is a silent monitor. Okay. All right. People have asked us for a beep. It's not something that we can do right now. But again, as I told you, we're constantly working on the platform. So, who knows when the engineers will bring something like that forward. But as of right now, the answer is no. Okay. I'm going to hand this off to Kyle, and he's going to talk just a little bit about, post call, essentially.
You just want to keep your screen shared since you logged in the supervisor and go to the call history tab?
Thing. I'll go over to call history. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So as we're talking about the historical, so as supervisors, you would have access to call recordings if call recordings enabled. You would have access to the call recording right through the portal here. You'll see a little monitor button where you can play, listen to it. You can download it. So you can listen to call recordings. Again, we have a webinar where we did focus specifically on call recording. So feel free to hop over and take a look at that one. Then you'll see that there's a column, there's a field for disposition codes. This is where folks can actually note calls. So if you hover over a call example to the right, you'll have a little a button that looks like a piece of paper with notes on there. And that's where you can go back, like agents can go back, or folks can go back historically and set a disposition code, a reason, and note a phone call. So as a supervisor, they can come to the call history, look at the disposition codes, and then click on this particular field and read the note that an agent may have put in there. We have some historically we have in there as well. So again, like some codes might be, depending on your business, is it are you a retail shop? Was it a returns call? Was it a customer service call? Or was it your support organization? It was a specific support call. So we can customize your disposition codes. And then again, folks can come in here and flag calls for supervisor review. Was it a good call? Was it a bad call? Or I have questions about a particular aspect the customer was asking about. So you can get pretty fancy with these against how you want to train your employees to use these particular features.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so this is very helpful.
Yep. And, as managing a call center in a past life, live by these all the time, having notes and codes on there, going back and looking at call data, call history, call recording, etc. So great, fantastic tools for everybody for just simply onboarding, training, ongoing training, reviews, etc.
Yeah, and Wendy asks a terrific question. Wendy said, so for everybody else, Wendy said, I see so many features on your Votacall, but we can't see most of them, like time, music, etc. Is it customized based on company? It is not customized based on company. It is customized based on basically what profile you're assigned behind the scenes. So in other words, we have, since Votacall is an all-in-one solution, this is a great time to tell you guys this. We usually try to throw this in at some point. Every feature is available to everybody on Votacall One. That being said, that doesn't mean we should have everybody in the company with the ability to record phone calls, monitor people, etc. So what we have is we have different roles within the organization, okay? And there's a hierarchy of those roles. They begin at office manager, which is the view that you're looking at now, which allows me to program all the users. It allows me to see auto attendance. It allows me to see everything. The next one down from that one is going to be, now, the other thing about office manager is you'll notice here, if I come in and I try to listen to this phone call, right, you'll see that it says playback disabled. And that's because we have the manager, the office manager can program the phone system, but isn't a supervisor, so can't actually play back calls. Now we can change that, but that's just how this one is set up. Now below that, we have site manager. Okay. And that is if you have multiple sites within an organization, potentially, I know there's some folks on here that have multiple sites already. An office manager would be able to program, all of the sites, whereas a site manager would only be responsible for their specific site. So, I know, I think Tim's on here today, and from one of our clients, and there's a lot of sites there. So we can have a site manager who can only see that. From there, you can have call center supervisors. Okay, and a call center supervisor is going to give you the ability to see the agents or the queues that you're assigned to manage. Okay, and that includes the calls that came into them. That includes the recordings of those people. That includes the ability to potentially monitor those individuals if we want to let that happen. From there, we go down a few more. There's a few more different roles. One is agent, and that gives people a slightly different view within the portal, so they can kind of come in and log themselves in and out of queues, choose disposition codes, etc. And then the next view down is just your standard user. There's actually an advanced user, and then there's one called No Portal, by the way. So you can have, if you needed a user that you wanted no one to be able to log into, you could do that. So that was a great question. What it sounds like we need to do, Wendy, is just kind of reach out after this is done and maybe set up a time to go through some training with you and figure out what you're looking for. So we'll reach out after this is over. Okay.
Fantastic question. All right. You want to stop sharing? We'll get to the next slide.
I'm actually very impressed that I'm making it through this without having some form of allergy attack. So the pollen is ripe today. All right. So I will stop sharing my screen. Okay, just give me one sec. Okay.
And absolutely, Wendy, I'll reach out right after and we'll set up a time to go over those. All right, next thing we like to go over is, what are some customer success stories? When we do these webinars, we like to kind of note some specific examples. I think with customer success stories, everyone can have a success story. Of course, with coaching and training, it's an extremely valuable tool to have in your arsenal. And Dan, do you have any success stories you want to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think it's true that everyone can have a success story, right? I mean, if you're hiring somebody, I think the first one for me is always hiring. Onboarding a new employee costs quite a bit of money, and for an organization. And when you bring somebody on board, and they're going to be talking to your clients and they're going to be answering phones, having an understanding of what their voice sounds like true life voice. We've all sat next to somebody and, you've got a supervisor or the person who trained you sitting right next to you, and they're listening to half the conversation. Very difficult, right? So you don't hear what the other person's saying. You kind of hear what they're saying. They're looking at you, you're looking at them, and you don't really get a real feel for what their personality is. And so I think that, I would encourage anybody who's bringing somebody on who's going to answer the phone, talk at all is to engage in trying something like this. I also think it's good for that person to listen to other folks, right? So like when a new salesperson comes on board at Votacall, very common for them to sit and listen to sales calls that are going on. All right. So that's the other version, right? We're not monitoring as a supervisor. We're not monitoring the employee. We are actually, as the new hire, we're monitoring the employee. Right. So we can turn on some features and functionality there to allow them to listen to a few different people, and give them the ability to listen to those groups so that they can learn. And they can also go back, as we talk about historical coaching, they can also go back and listen to some of those calls that are flagged certain ways, maybe a good call, bad call. You can keep a library because you can download those calls. So you can keep a library somewhere on your network and your share files, where you can have a list of calls for somebody to come and listen to. Like, hey, we have some great sales calls here. Why don't you go listen to these? Now, that is something that we use here at Votacall. As I was thinking about this webinar, we definitely have a lot of folks who use monitoring. I don't want to get into specifics as to who they are, but we have a customer service brand that is a fairly strong customer service brand. In this case, not Vineyard Vines, although they do some monitoring there. But we have another company, and they do monitoring when they bring on a new employee and they want to be able to listen. They also go back and review calls so that they can coach people on what they're doing, because they're selling once in a lifetime experiences. Like a hot air balloon over the Sahara. So if you've ever wondered how you do that, you can reach out to us. I'll put you in touch.
Hopefully there's a body
You
of
know,
water nearby.
you know, so there's a lot of things that you can do. We got a new joke.
Why didn't the skeleton have a mobile phone?
I don't know. I know this one.
Boy, we're getting new ones. This is good. Good job, Janelle.
Any answers, anyone?
Why didn't the skeleton have a mobile phone? Well, if you got answers, put them in the questions tab until we get the answer.
Why didn't the skeleton have a mobile phone? Kyle, did you have any customer success stories that you wanted to share about people who are doing any coaching or?
Yeah, I mean, more or less, again, managing in my past experience, managing customer service teams, support teams. Again, just a great way to make sure, people are staying on brand, using the same, kind of like terms you want folks to adhere to. Of course, being a manager, hiring people, we'd have 1 week to 2 week training sessions where we'd put people on the calls, listening, monitoring. So more or less, it's kind of like any sort of like real life experience is what I'm going to mention here. Kind of repeat the same ones.
He had nobody to talk to. And I think that that's the important thing, right, Kyle, as we went through these and we were talking, we were like, well, this should apply to everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, if you have people actively speaking on the phone to your customers and you're not engaging in some form of monitoring or just checking in on them or coaching them to make them better, using a tool like this or using tools like this that Votacall offers, I think you're doing a disservice to your clients. You're doing a disservice to, you're doing a disservice to your employee and potentially to the company as well. Constant feedback for your employees is just really important. And I think that it's something that's why we wanted to talk about this today, because there's a lot of people who don't know that this is here. But once again, please check out in the apps tab, click on links. And again, you've got links to the Votacall portal. You've got links to our training library, Votacall's training library. You've got links to support, links to our previous webinars that we've done. This one will be up in the next day or two. Links to our customer love page. By all means, if you come on here and you tell us that you love us and that you're really enjoying this, it would be amazing if we could get you on our customer love page and get you over there so that you can tell our story. We are not a company with a massive marketing budget. The marketing that we do is based in word of mouth. And as you can see, t-shirts and hats. By the way, we will be getting some swag out to the folks who threw some jokes in there for us. We always appreciate that. We're not a big marketing machine. Our business comes through word of mouth and customers telling stories to people who need telephone systems. So if you want to be part of the customer love page, that would be amazing. The Votacall values, we added that one recently. And I think it's important to kind of go through that and see that came into play when we did our last webinar with Eric. And then last but not least, our LinkedIn page. And please go over there. And at the very least, even if you don't want to do customer love, head on over to LinkedIn and smash that like button.
Follow button. The follow button.
Oh God, that's a follow button. I'm sorry, everybody. I get it wrong every time. We were joking about everybody and their YouTube channels and smashing this and smashing that, and I think it drives Kyle crazy. So we make sure we throw one in every time. Thank you very much for coming, folks. If nobody has any questions, we'll sign off at this point. Hopefully, we will see your faces or at least your names in the window of people who are attending next month. And we thank you very much, Kyle.
Absolutely. Thank you very much and have a great day.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.